Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. Yesterday, I promised you that I'll read you a letter that written to me by Advocate Malisela Teffo. I've decided to do otherwise. I'll just give you, the highlights of that letter. Let me begin by saying that today, the 8th of January 2025, Malisela Teffo will be getting his certificate of good conduct from the Legal Practice Council of Gauteng, the provincial office of the Legal Practice Council in the Gauteng province. That is what we want to see happen today. That is what I've been promised by Malisela Teffo. Remember, we have been tracing how Teffo is making his comeback. Now, one of the first things that is going to happen today is that he's going to get his certificate of good standing from the Legal Practice Council. Now, what is a certificate of good standing? Every advocate and attorney to practice must have what is known as a certificate of good standing issued by the Legal Practice Council in the particular province in which that advocate was admitted. No advocate or attorney can appear in any court without having been cleared by the Legal Practice Council by way of issuing a certificate of good standing. So a certificate of good standing is issued to indicate that, among other things, you don't have any misconduct proceedings pending against you, that you are also a paid-up member of the Legal Practice Council. If it is found that, or if the Legal Practice Council is not in a position to offer you or present you with a certificate of good standing, there is nowhere that you can practice. So this is the first practical step that Teffo is taking today, the acquisition of his certificate of good standing. The next thing, like Teffo indicated, will be, which is very important for this in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. The most important thing that he'll be looking into is the representation of the 4 accused persons before the Pretoria High Court. Now, how is that going to take place? This is going to take place in this way. A new attorney has been appointed. I will not disclose this attorney at this particular point in time because Teffo requested me not to disclose his name. This new attorney will then instruct Teffo to represent the 4 accused persons in the Pretoria High Court. Because that is how advocates appear before any court. Any advocate will appear before court because he has been briefed by an attorney. So there is this new attorney who is coming on board, who is going to instruct Teffo to represent those 4 accused persons. Now, a lot of you have been saying to me, why is Teffo coming onto the scene? Why don't you continue with the people that we see representing these accused persons in court and so on and so forth? Let me be frank and be very honest with you. It is not for me to decide who represents those 4 accused persons in the Pretoria High Court. It is those 4 people or 5 people who will make a decision themselves as to who they want as their legal representative. We don't want to find ourselves being mjiakos here, right? So these people have got to make that decision. Having made that decision, they will then contact an attorney of their own choice, and that attorney will then be up to that attorney. Like if it was indicated, there's an attorney who has come onto the scene. That attorney will then decide on an advocate of his or her own choice. In this case, this attorney has already identified Teffo as being the person suitable to represent those 5 accused persons. That is the reality of it. That is the reality of it. In other words, you don't just, if I'm an advocate, like I'm an advocate, I cannot just pitch up in that Pretoria High Court and pretend to represent any of the accused persons. I can only do so provided I've got specific instructions from an attorney. And Teffo has assured me that he has these instructions from this attorney that we will name at a later stage. Now, the priority Teffo tells me will be to look into the confession, especially the confession of Bongani Ntanzi, accused number 2, who is supposed to have implicated all the other 4 accused in the commission of this crime. You will recall that from where we are standing now, or at this particular point in time, those confessions have been admitted by the court as having been made freely and voluntarily. Teffo says the first thing that he's going to do is to launch an application before the Supreme Court of Appeal, challenging the admissibility of those confessions. And in the interim, while that issue goes to the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein, Teffo will also seek to interdict or get to stop the proceedings in the trial in the Pretoria High Court going on. In other words, what Teffo intends to do is launch this application to challenge those confessions before the Supreme Court of Appeal. But in the meantime, this trial must be stopped. In other words, it must not proceed pending the finalization or the determination of that issue by the Supreme Court of Appeal sitting in Bloemfontein. That is what he wants to do. Because the reasoning behind this is, he says that those confessions are very crucial evidence. And because the DNA evidence does not stand the test of time, right? Because you'll recall that none of the 5 people's DNA was found in the house. The only conclusion is that the only evidence that the state will rely upon to secure the conviction of these 5 people are those confessions. So he says that will be his starting point. So let us wait and see what happens today. Teffo is on the scene. Let us take it from there, and once he's issued with that certificate of good standing, you'll get access to it. You'll get to see. You will not just talk about that certificate of good standing. You will get to see this certificate of good standing. We'll post it online for everybody to see. So that is the news that I'm bringing you this morning. And let us look forward to what happens later on today. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.